Welcome to the Midwest Dental Industry Update. We're going to take a quick look at the latest figures for dental equipment and consumables.
Yeah, focusing on what really matters for your sales strategies here in the Midwest. We've got the numbers.
Great, let's jump right in, starting with dental equipment, April 2025.
Okay. So overall, U.S. sales actually saw a year-over-year decrease, about 11.5%, totaling roughly $105 million.
And what's behind that drop?
It was mainly driven by fewer units being sold. That was down almost 12%, 11.8% to be exact. Interestingly, though, the price or product mix, that actually nudged up slightly, 0.3%.
Okay, so fewer big purchases maybe. What about the longer view, say, the rolling 12 months?
Good question. Looking at May 24 to April 25 compared to the year before, yeah, the U.S. market was down 4.3% in revenue.
Still down.
Still down, and this seems to be mostly from a big drop in high-tech equipment sales and a somewhat smaller decrease in core equipment. For your teams, this probably points to dentists being a bit cautious on big capital spends right now.
Makes sense. Let's dig into that core equipment piece. That's still the majority of the market, right? Over half.
Exactly, 57.2% of the revenue in April, and it was down 11.7% year over year in April.
Oof.
Yeah. Again, it's fewer units sold driving that, down 14.1%. But the price product mix did improve a bit, up 2.8%.
So some resilience in pricing maybe, but volume is down. Any
Oh.
specific areas hit hard?
Well, 7 out of the 9 core segments saw revenues shrink. Operatory lights were down quite a bit, 19.4%, and cabinetry wasn't far behind at minus 16.8%.
But wasn't there a bright spot? Air Techniques.
Ah, yes. Good catch. Air Techniques actually showed the biggest year-over-year market share gain in core equipment for April. They jumped up 188 basis points, reaching 8.29% share.
So some movement there despite the overall trend.
Definitely. And over the rolling 12 months, core equipment sales fell about 2.9%.
Yeah.
The biggest drag there was actually dental units, the largest single category.
Okay, let's talk high tech then, excluding CAD/CAM. How did that fare in April?
Also down, fell 11.3% year over year. And here it was kind of a double hit. Units sold decreased by 4.9%, and the price product mix was negative, down 6.8%.
Right, so less expensive items being sold or just lower prices overall?
Likely a mix of both. The key areas here, digital radiography and X-ray equipment, they make up almost all of the high-tech sales, like 96%, and both were down significantly. Digital radiography minus 11.4%, X-ray minus 15.8%.
Wow. Any winners in high tech share?
Yeah, the direct sellers, they saw the biggest year-over-year share increase in April, up almost 300 basis points to nearly 10% share.
Interesting channel shift. And the 12-month view for high tech?
Also negative, down 6.0% revenue-wise. So yeah, the overall outlook, turning that trailing 12-month equipment revenue positive in 2025, it seems unlikely given the economic uncertainty.
Okay, clear picture on equipment. Let's switch gears to consumables. How did Q1 2025 look?
So for the first quarter, U.S. dental consumable sales saw a year-over-year decrease, but smaller, down 1.34%. That breaks down into a 1.6% decline for infection control products and about 1.3% down for other consumables.
How does that compare to last year's growth?
Well, compared to 2024, Q1 2025 was slightly weaker overall for consumable sales growth, even adjusting for sales days. Unit growth was actually a bit stronger, up 5.0%.
Oh, okay, so people bought more stuff.
They bought more individual items, yeah. But the price or the mix of products sold was, let's say, less favorable. It was down 6.1%. For your sales teams, this really underscores the importance of volume right now, maybe over just pure value per sale in consumables.
Got it. And infection control specifically, you said down 1.6%.
Right. It grew kind of similarly to the overall market in Q1. There was strong unit volume growth there, especially for things like surface cleaners and masks.
Okay.
But that was mostly offset by falling glove prices. That's been a big story.
The glove prices. Still falling.
Still falling, but declining since the peak back in April 2021. It really drags down the revenue for that whole category, even if unit volumes for other things are up.
Understood. Were there any consumable categories showing positive revenue growth in Q1?
Yes, a few. Out of 25 major categories, 5 were positive year over year. Preventives led the way, up 4.8%.
Nice.
Anesthetics were also up 3.3%, and miscellaneous products saw a 2.6% gain.
And what about patient traffic? Any sense of that?
The proxies we look at, like sales of bibs, prophy angles, injectable carpules, they suggest maybe a low single-digit increase year over year in Q1. Seems slightly more favorable for dentists compared to hygienists based on those specific product sales.
Okay, slight uptick in activity. What about private label and consumables?
Interesting dynamic there. Their sales-based market share actually dipped slightly to 19.62%, but their unit-based share, that increased to over 30%.
How does that work? Selling more, but making less revenue share.
It's partly because private label has higher exposure to that infection control category, where the revenue growth is slower because of those falling glove prices we mentioned.
Right, makes sense. If we exclude infection control, how did the rest of the consumable market do?
Taking infection control out, consumables decreased 1.29% in Q1. That's actually a bit worse than how 2024 performed.
And the forecast for the rest of 25.
The outlook suggests about a 0.9% year-over-year decline for total dental consumable revenue for the full year, and about -1% if you exclude infection control. That forecast does account for one less sales day in 2025.
Okay, so continued slight pressure on consumables. What are the biggest categories overall?
Over the past 12 months, the top 5 by revenue are infection control at nearly 20%, restoratives around 11%, preventatives also around 11%, anesthetics at 6.3%, and cements liners bases at 5.7%.
Got it. And quick hits on how those top ones did in Q1. Preventatives up strongly.
Yeah, preventatives up 4.8%, toothbrushes saw significant growth there, anesthetics up 3.3%, helped by a 5% increase in injectable carpules.
Okay.
Restoratives were down slightly, 1.7%. Cements liners bases saw modest growth, 1.2%. And infection control, as we said, down 1.6% revenue-wise due to glove prices, even with unit increases in masks and surface cleaners.
And any shifts in private label share within categories?
Yes. Private label brands gained share in categories like burrs, impression materials, ultrasonics, finishing and polishing, and prosthetics. They lost some share in infection control, evacuation, miscellaneous, endo, and rubber dam.
Okay. And any standout manufacturers in Q1?
Among the top 25, Sunstar, Midmark, and Cookweight showed the highest revenue growth. For unit growth, Cranberry, Sunstar again, and Premier led the pack.
And price mix?
Hufredi, Kuro, and Sunstar had the largest price product mix increases. On the flip side, private label manufacturers saw a pretty big drop in price mix, down 7.7%. Again, mostly because of those glove prices.
Okay, that's a lot of detail. So let's boil it down. What does this all mean for sales teams focusing on the Midwest?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that we've seen contraction overall, both in equipment and consumables. It's not a booming market right now.
Right. Caution seems to be the word, especially on the equipment side.
Exactly. Keep a close eye on both core and high-tech equipment trends. Sales are currently down. However, there are pockets of growth, especially in specific consumable categories.
Like preventives and anesthetics. Those look pretty solid.
They did. So those could be areas of focus. Also, really understand the impact of falling glove prices on the whole infection control segment. It affects overall revenue, even when units of other items are up.
And pay attention to the private label shifts, right?
Yeah.
Gaining in some areas, losing in others.
Definitely. Knowing where private label is strong or weak can help you tailor your approach. Overall, understanding these specific dynamics, where the dips are, where the growth spots are, the manufacturer performance that can help you refine your sales strategy and focus your efforts effectively in the current Midwest dental landscape.
Great summary. Thanks for walking us through those numbers. We hope this quick update gives you some valuable insights. We'll keep tracking these trends and bring you more updates soon.